Welcome to the Healthcare Provider Happy Hour. This is a safe space where we invite healthcare providers to unapologetically be themselves after the working day. My name is Jennifer George, and each week I will connect you with guests and stories that will help transform your stress to success and fulfillment. Are you with me? Grab your drink of choice and let's chat. Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthcare Provider Happy Hour. I'm your host, Jennifer George, and I'm joining you this afternoon to chat with you a little bit about perfectionism and excellence and the difference between the two. And could you be someone who has more perfectionistic tendencies? Are you a perfectionist? Do you identify as one? Or are you someone who seeks more excellence? As I was chatting with Shoni Dusling, she's a perfectionist coach. We were chatting on an Instagram live a little while back, and it really made me reflect on myself in my practice and where I fit in between the two. And excellence is kind of a word you see in healthcare very commonly, right? You never see the word perfectionism to describe patient care, but it really is a very common thing among healthcare providers to strive for perfectionism. And we sometimes hear the word, and people will use it to describe someone as being perfect sometimes, and it can hold people to an unrealistic standard that drives them to kind of exhaust themselves and put forth all of this energy everywhere in their life, only to find themselves maybe burnt out by the end. So when I think of excellence, I think of expansion, I think of growth, I think of never ending, I think of lifelong learning and unlearning and relearning. When I think of perfectionism, and then when I've read and heard about perfectionism, it's more driven by fear, by lack. It could be a lack of self-worth. It could be a lack of confidence. It could be a fear of failure, fear of success. And those types of feelings or those limiting beliefs are what kind of govern the practice of it. When I think of excellence, I think more of that growth mindset, right? That if I fail, that's only human, and I'm just learning and I'm doing my best, and I can get back up and move onward tomorrow. I can go at it again tomorrow. Whereas with perfectionism, that perception of failure can be quite derailing and devastating. Another thing to ask yourself is, are you open to feedback, or are you more offended, and do you feel less worthy when someone gives you feedback or constructive criticism? Because that's a big difference as well between excellence and perfectionism, is that those who strive for excellence are more open to collaboration. They're open to help. And sometimes in healthcare, it can be really hard to ask people for help, but yet it's something we really need to be doing more of. I'll give you a good example. Just the other day, I had a patient, and I just haven't felt that he was receiving kind of my care very well. And I felt like maybe I'm just not the right provider for him, right? It came to that. And I reached out to a colleague and asked that he would meet with him and see if he could better connect, because I understand that as a human being, as well as a healthcare provider, that I might not be for everybody. And while that's hard sometimes to swallow, at the end of the day, my patient's well-being and their success is what matters most. So putting ego aside and asking for help is a really big step, I think, in overcoming perfectionism or managing it in some way. Another thing, too, even among novice practitioners or students, I think sometimes from what I've seen over the years as a preceptor is that sometimes people won't ask for help because they don't want to be seen as unfit or incompetent, right? Especially when you're being evaluated. And to me, it should be quite the opposite. I hope that my students understand that they don't have to know it all, right? That's the point. You're just learning, and to be open to learning, because I think if you do know it all or think you do, that you're not as open to learning and seeing the greater system of healthcare and how what you know really has an impact on your patient care and their potential and their success at the end of the day. The other thing too, between excellence and perfectionism is kind of that feeling of comparing oneself, right? That comparisonitis type thing. And you might feel like when it comes to burnout, for example, you might feel and look at another healthcare provider and think, well, they have it together. I don't see them stressing out. They seem to be doing good work and don't seem to be too exhausted or drained or complaining or anything like that. And then it makes you feel a sense of shame. And when you feel a sense of shame, you start to feel low in your self-worth, of course, right? Or it could be that you've had low self-worth to begin with, and you are more prone to perhaps comparing yourself to others. So I really do feel like perfectionism can kind of breed burnout. I'm not saying the two are directly related, but I can see how it can spiral into burnout, especially because with perfectionism, it kind of spills into every aspect of your life. So if you feel like you have to be perfect at work and perfect at home, then when are you rejuvenating yourself? Where are you finding the energy to do all of this mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually? Eventually, you might feel or find yourself exhausted, or you might start to feel like you don't have an impact anymore. And that could be related to the two of those things as well. So let me know what you think. In listening to this and listening to the differences between excellence and perfectionism, where do you feel like you fit? From my understanding, those who are perfectionists identify with perfectionists. I think I have perfectionistic tendencies, but I don't believe that I'm a perfectionist through and through. I believe I strive more for excellence and I have more of a growth mindset. Being open to feedback sometimes can be challenging for me, and letting go and delegating can sometimes also be a challenge for me as a therapist, but I am learning through that and I am growing through that, and I've grown through that over the years as well. And I think the biggest thing too is understanding that as a healthcare provider, feeling self-empowered is really important. And even if you are a perfectionist or not, or just have perfectionistic tendencies like myself, you understand that none of it's bad. But what you want to do is see where you can utilize your gifts most, and even more so, understand what those gifts are to begin with and do the digging on that and be more self-reflective. I think that's one of the biggest strategies to help manage perfectionism is being reflective, processing your emotions in writing and trying to understand yourself more so and get to the root of really what matters to you right now and start there. So let me know what you think. If you like this podcast, please tag me, take a screenshot of it on Instagram. My handle's at Best Obsessed with Jen. If you want to keep this conversation going, same thing, just reach out to me on Instagram. As you know, I am doing some workshops and teachings on burnout and communication and healthcare. And if you are interested, your healthcare team is interested, or you yourself on an individual level are interested, please reach out to me and we can customize something together. I really believe that both communication and burnout are correlated and equally important in the field of healthcare to help healthcare providers promote and thrive in their practice, but also to help patients achieve their highest level of recovery, function, and independence. And until we chat next time, remember to stay well and stay happy. So if you guys like this podcast, please subscribe and leave an honest review. Your feedback means everything to me. Your reviews are what moves this podcast forward, and I always appreciate receiving them. If you want to get a hold of me directly, reach out to me on social media. My handles are in the show notes. And you can always subscribe to my weekly newsletters at jennifergeorge.co so that we can stay connected. So until next time, thank you guys so much again for your ongoing support.